Breaking news, this just in. A Washington, D.C. airport control tower was out of commission because they had to hose the blood off the radar screens. Ew, wait, what? I guess that's next on Maximus. Well, leading off the big show with some breaking news just in from the Daily Mail, so you know it's gotta be true. Well, apparently 2 air traffic controllers traded punches when a shocking fight erupted inside the tower at Ronald Reagan National Airport. The tower at D.C. Airport is already under massive scrutiny following January's deadly mid-air collision, and trouble flared up again Thursday when a pair of on-duty tower knuckleheads or controllers got into a blazing argument before one of them threw a haymaker, and then it was on like Donkey Kong. According to the Daily Mail Insider, by the time the brawling colleagues were separated, there was blood splattered all over the control tower. And it wasn't as if it was just only the 2 pugilists on duty at the time. The tower would likely have had a supervisor and at least 6 or 7 controllers directing air traffic at the time. The FAA said it is investigating the shocking event. A witness in the tower at the time said, "I've heard of controllers going at it in the parking lot, but this was on a whole new level. The facility is out of control," he added, that people are cracking because of what happened in January. But rest assured, because the Daily Mail reports that the controllers involved in the fisticuffs were not working the night of the recent mid-air collision. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Well, it feels like we've been hearing about Qantas launching its direct non-stop flights between Sydney, London, and New York since, well, I can't remember when. They even gave it a special name. Well, you know, it's Project Sunrise. As a matter of fact, Project Sunrise was supposed to be well underway this year. That said, however, you can hardly blame Qantas for the delay. But you can blame Airbus for an embarrassment of riches, so to speak, because the 12 ultra-long-haul A350s Qantas ordered still haven't arrived due to Airbus's tremendous production backlog. And due to the delay of those aircraft, complete with all new bespoke interiors that will be used on those 20-plus hour flights, well, that service commencement date was already pushed back at least once from 2024. However, now, according to Qantas, they don't expect its first A350 delivery until 2026 at the earliest. So Qantas says the launch of Project Sunrise will now be delayed at least until sometime in 2027. But that does beg the question, even with the first aircraft arriving late in 2026, after such a long delay already, why is the launch of Sunrise being delayed even further into 2027? And coincidentally, I just happen to have the answer to that. And that's because in order to operate daily 18 to 22-hour flights to any given destination halfway around the world, Qantas says they will require at least 3 aircraft to make that happen. And it's that third jet in the equation that's gumming up the works, since Qantas is not expecting its third A350 until the spring of 2027 at the earliest, rendering the launch of Project Sunrise impossible until then. In the meantime, Qantas has confirmed the destination for its first A350 once it eventually arrives at the end of 2026. However, surely to the dismay of many who have eagerly been awaiting the launch of direct-to-London service for years, the first destination to be served by the aircraft will be anything but a long haul. More like a puddle jump, because that destination Qantas announced is Auckland, New Zealand, a mere 3 hours from Sydney. And yes, while you may be thinking, wait a minute, why waste a long-haul, state-of-the-art Airbus A350-1000 on basically a cross-town Sunday drive? Well, there's a good explanation for that too. Because before Qantas starts flying Project Sunrise across the globe with its new toy, it first needs to give it a few trial runs closer to home to work out any inevitable bugs that are sure to arise, as do in any new project, especially one the scope of Sunrise. The practice also allows for the training of aircrew on the new model aircraft to hone their skills on real flights, albeit short ones, to get to know the aircraft and understand the best way to operate it. Company CEO Vanessa Hudson, speaking at a recent Airbus briefing in Hamburg, Germany, confirmed that the newly announced trans-Tasmanian flights would help train pilots and cabin crew on the new jets before the second and third aircraft arrive, following which Project Sunrise flights to London can finally begin. Well, the second largest rocket in history behind the SpaceX Starship, NASA's Artemis, just took another step for mankind towards its return to the moon, as NASA has revealed that another component of the Space Launch System, the SLS, for the upcoming 2026 crewed test flight around the moon. Well, recently NASA said technicians successfully connected the core stage with the stacked solid rocket boosters at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Teams moved the rocket stage from the transfer aisle to High Bay 3, which was secured between the booster segments atop the launch tower. During launch and liftoff, the boosters, each measuring 177 feet or about 53 meters tall, will generate most of the 8.8 million pounds of thrust needed to carry 4 astronauts aboard the Orion spacecraft. As the newest addition to the mobile launcher, the core stage is the largest component of the rocket, standing 212 feet or 64 meters tall. The stage is the backbone of the rocket, supporting the launch vehicle stage adapter, interim cryogenic propulsion stage, Orion stage adapter, and the Orion spacecraft for the moon mission. The next component to be integrated will be the adapter, which will be lifted and secured atop the core stage in the coming weeks. The Artemis 2 test flight will carry a crew of 4 astronauts on a 10-day mission around the moon and will be the first crewed flight of NASA's Artemis program aimed at exploring deep space. It's set to launch in April of 2026. Well, if you thought we've heard the last of Boeing's brokeback Starliner, think again. Because NASA said this week it was moving towards certifying Boeing's Starliner for crewed flights later this year or early 2026, even after its inaugural mission to the ISS was an utter failure, leading to the saga of Butch and Sunny, and we all know how that turned out. But is continuing to work with Boeing to resolve the Starliner's faulty propulsion system, which of course led to the aforementioned saga of Butch and Sunny, who had to be rescued by Prince Elon's Space Dragon. Quite the fairy tale indeed. Still, NASA and Boeing are working to finalize timelines for various propulsion system tests and analysis throughout the spring and summer, as NASA prepares for Starliner's next flight. And speaking of Boeing, that brings us to some big Boeing legal updates to get you caught up on. Earlier this week, news leaked that Boeing was going to try and weasel out of its deal with the DOJ, looking for a better deal. However, U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor got wind of this news and not only scrapped the April 11 deadline for Boeing and the DOJ to come up with a plan on how to proceed, but on Tuesday, March 25, the day after this news dropped, the judge vacated that April date and told Boeing to be prepared because they're going to face a jury, as he set a trial date for June 23rd in Fort Worth, Texas. The families who lost loved ones in the MAX crashes welcome the news of a trial, as they have been pushing for the DOJ to do more to hold Boeing accountable, saying that we are pleased to see Judge O'Connor set this case for trial. And we hope that the Justice Department will agree that a corporate entity which killed hundreds of people and endangered millions of lives should be held accountable. Since the December order rejecting the plea deal, Boeing and the DOJ have repeatedly asked the court for more time to continue discussions. Mark Lindquist, another attorney representing some of the victims' families, said Tuesday, it appears the judge has lost patience with Boeing, adding that his message seems to be accept the responsibility or go to trial. No more delays. And finally, it's hard to believe, but it's already been a year since Boeing whistleblower John Barnetts, who, while in the middle of his ongoing lawsuit with Boeing, was found dead in the parking lot of his hotel. And of course, this is a story we have covered extensively on the channel, but as I'm sure all of us knew, the story wouldn't just go away simply because John had gone away. Now the family of John Barnetts, whose death last year brought fresh attention to the company's persistent struggles with quality, have filed a wrongful death lawsuit in the U.S. District Court in Charleston, South Carolina, blaming Boeing for Barnett's tragic death. 62-year-old John Barnetts was found deceased on March 9, 2024, outside a Charleston, South Carolina hotel. At the scene, police recovered a note which accused company leaders of ruining his life, which included a very chilling sentence saying, "I pray Boeing pays." According to the Seattle Times, the 146-page civil complaint describes Barnetts as a conscientious employee determined to keep air travel safe, even if it meant challenging Boeing managers, who the lawsuit claims routinely batted down Barnett's own complaints. Over time, the grueling and often frustrating process of whistleblowing sapped Barnett emotionally, which his family's lawyers contend set him on the path to his death. It was in a May 2024 news release that Charleston-based attorneys Robert Turkowitz and Brian Knowles blamed Boeing for Barnett's death. Lawyer for the family said in the lawsuit that Mr. Barnett's last words make it clear that while Boeing may have not pulled the trigger, the company is responsible for his death. And the new complaint doubles down on the claim whether or not Boeing intended to drive John to his death or merely destroy his ability to function. In the complaint, the family wrote that Barnett's death was absolutely foreseeable, claiming that Boeing's conduct was the clear cause and the clear foreseeable cause of John's death. The complaint alleges that a Boeing manager frustrated by Barnett's whistleblowing told him that I'm going to push you until you break. Barnett's family's attorney said now it's time for justice and accountability for John and his family. For far too long, Boeing has acted with a culture of concealment, Knowles said. So there you have it. A little news for everybody. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for now. But now it's your turn to let me know down below. And I won't know until you let me know. So please be sure to share your thoughts before you leave. And until next time, as always, this is Maximus.